I got kind of a tough question for you.
Okay. If I can't answer, I'll have him answer it for me.
Looking over your voting record, and with your current exit, shall we say, from the closet there, how do I know that in the future you're going to vote your conscience, seeing as how you several times voted against gay rights issues?
I've had a 100% voting record for gay rights issues since I've been a member of Congress. And what one of my opponents is talking about is what happened 3 decades ago. Yes, we all do evolve, and Maine has evolved as well. If you look at Maine voters, in 2012, Maine voters voted for marriage equality. If you look at 2 years before that, Maine voters turned it down. So people do evolve around it. And I've evolved, I've grown along with the voters here in the state of Maine. And the interesting thing is, the fact of the matter is you have some politicians say they'll do this or they'll do that. Well, quite frankly, they never had to take a hard vote in their life. And it's easy for them to criticize since they've never been there and had to do that. And I'll bring it right back since, and I know we talked about Mr. Cutler, since he's talking about votes that might have taken 30 years ago versus what I've done over the last 12 years, he thinks that if you can write a check, then that's good enough. That's not good enough. If he was so interested in these issues, whether it's marriage equality or other issues, he should have been fighting for those for his life, not just waiting for an election year and write checks up to think that's going to happen. And I'll bring it back to on how voters have evolved. I have evolved as an elected official. 30 years ago in Bangor, Maine, Charlie Howard got thrown off a bridge because of his sexuality. And if you go back and look at the Bangor Daily News, look at the editorial page, where the Bangor Daily News actually, well, it said it was a choice.
Wow.
And and that was really amazing because when I went back to look at what we were doing back then, and actually back then, the Maine legislature, which I was a part of the Maine legislature, we actually passed legislation that we thought we were addressing the problem. And actually I got criticized by my opponent in the next election, saying my vote back then was to allow for homosexuality, which it wasn't. And we all thought we did right. But looking at it today to where it was back then, we didn't do a good job. And we got to do better. And the last thing I'll mention on this whole evolution, which one of my opponents keeps talking about, is as elected officials, or as you yourself, as you grow up, you might be thinking of a certain issue a certain way. But as you get around, whether it's here in Portland or elsewhere, and you really see what's happening in society, and you say, well, maybe I was wrong back then. That's not the way it is. Are you going to say, well, I thought that way back then, so it's okay to stay the way I'm thinking now? I think it shows courage when an elected official can take in new information to see where things are today versus 10, 20 years ago, and to make that change. It takes courage to change.